why this purpose? Why this mission? It's important for everyone to understand the thinking behind it, the emotion behind it, the marketplace analysis behind it, the internal factors behind it.
Welcome, ladies, gentlemen, folks, and people to this episode of the Strategy and Leadership Podcast. My name is Anthony Taylor. I'm the managing partner at SME Strategy. We facilitate strategic planning sessions and work with leaders around the world. And I'm so excited to introduce our guest today. David, how are you today?
I'm terrific. Every day's a gift. And looking forward to the gift of spending some time with you and your audience today.
Awesome. Likewise. Well, I'm super excited to be able to learn, to share your experience. So David is David Giersdorf. He is the CEO of Global Voyages Group, and he's the author of Hardships, Navigating Your Company, Career, and Life Through the Fog of Disruption. So David, why don't we start off, what had you write this book? And maybe you can do a little sort of preface as to your career as how it led up to writing this book.
I'm happy to, and the career has certainly been a big part of writing the book. But as the title suggests, career and life, in my experience, they're all connected, especially having grown up in an entrepreneurial family where there was no lines between the business and the life. So I've lived an interesting and gifted, fortunate life, I think. In my view, the good and the bad, it's all the same. It's life. And I've had a rich and full life. Born in the frontier of Alaska before statehood to a single parent father who's a AAA type entrepreneur. And I experienced disruption from the outset of my life, change and disruption, and high creativity. Because of the family business, which we built, which was in the tourism industry and ultimately the cruise industry, I ended up spending the bulk of my career in helping to build the global cruise industry, even serving a term as chairman of the Global Industry Cruise Line International Association, the senior executive, president, CEO, C-suite in several iconic cruise companies. The global cruise business is unique in that everything has to go perfectly all the time to deliver that exquisite guest experience and exceed expectations. Yet, rarely is that the case. Weather, wars, economies, viruses, groundings, operational mishaps. And in the course of dealing with those types of issues repetitively and at scale across a number of different types of companies, I found that I had my own type of playbook. That playbook infused by life experiences as well, and other non-cruise businesses and industries I've been involved in. And I've thought about this idea of providing those lessons to others in a form that was consumable for others. And so probably at least 20 years ago, I copyrighted the title Hardships because I had the concept for quite some time. When the greatest disruption of all time arrived some 18 months ago or so in the form of COVID-19, I knew in my heart it was time for the message. That was one of the things I could do during the great pause to contribute. And so I decided to set about writing Hardships, Navigating Your Company, Career, and Life Through the Fog of Disruption. And I'm a journaler. I have decades of personal journals, and those journals contain my work experiences as well as my life perceptions and activities. So I was able to draw on the journals and other notes I'd made, to frame. So what are those lessons? What order do I put them in? How do I why is it that time and again, I've been one of the people that others look to in a disruption to, bring clarity and lead a path through and out the other side. So that became the book, 6 Protocols and 1 Mindset. That mindset being, I accept what's difficult. And I'm an endurance athlete, Ironman, long distance, arduous sport activity. And that has taught me a lot about the endurance mindset, the preparation of the mind, the role the mind plays in getting through difficult challenges, and how to care and feed and prepare the mind just as we do our bodies.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I love that. There's a lot of things there. So for our listeners, David's been responsible for multi-billion-dollar organizations in arguably one of the most complex situations. And what I took away from what you were sharing, unlike most businesses that have, one kind of territory or multiple territories with fairly consistent conditions, of course, there's the macro trends that change, the seas of change, pun intended, and the macro and micro environments that exist through the trajectories of all of those businesses. You're literally sailing in the seas, which are tumultuous as they are. And then you have to deal with so many different variables. And so as a CEO and as an executive and as a senior leader in those type of businesses, and one that consults to those type of businesses, I imagine that you really have to, it's not having your head on a swivel, but you really need to have like the big picture in the purest of terms to be able to understand, 30,000 feet, not to mix metaphors, but also the granular capabilities. So I guess my question is, and my first question is, what's it like leading people in that type of environment?
It's thrilling. It's fulfilling. After all, it's a people industry, whether it be cruise or any other form of travel. It's a people industry. We're trusted with the care and the hopes and dreams of others, and we feed and nurture teams that are passionate about delivering exceptional experiences to those guests. So the culture, of a company that's at the front edge of serving the highest rated satisfaction of any form of vacation is cruising. It's not by accident.
So maybe I can frame the question slightly differently.
Yeah.
Is as someone who has led through that, and it's, there's obviously part of those things in the book. What are some of those sort of best practices that you would give to a leader in those things, in those conditions to be successful?
Yeah. Transparency is critical. A lot of leaders, kind of start and end with the external stakeholders and the internal senior team. But in fact, to the fact that it is the senior executives' role to define a purpose that will align and galvanize a large team, and to communicate that purpose in a compelling and clear and consistent manner. That to me is about transparency, because to understand why this purpose, why this mission, it's important for everyone to understand the thinking behind it, the emotion behind it, the marketplace analysis behind it, the internal factors behind it, that make this a good mission for us, that we can succeed at. And here's how your role. I led a giant program at Holland America Line. We had 16,000 employees on the ships and shoreside. And we called it ultimately Signature of Excellence. So very transformative. Maybe I'll talk about it more in our discussions. But one of the things we did was we had each and every one of our team members offer their personal signature of excellence to our promise, our promise to each other, our promise to our guests, our promise to our community. That was powerful. That was transparent. It was deep. It was engaged. So maybe that a couple points like that speak to your question.
Hey, sorry to interrupt. It's Anthony here again. I just wanted to let you know if you're enjoying today's episode, I'd love it if you could give us a review and a comment to let us know where you're listening from. It means a lot to us. It helps us with the algorithm. It also helps us get into the hands of more people so that we can keep bringing great guests onto the show. So please do that. Also, if you or your team are planning a strategic planning offsite coming up, please reach out to us. We'd be happy to see if we're a fit to facilitate, to support you and your team getting on the same page and getting clear about where you want to go. So you can visit smestrategy.net or click the link in the description. We'd appreciate both of those things. And now get us back to the episode.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I love that. And I think it's really interesting. Again, in the preamble, you said, travel, cruising, luxury travel. It's such a big brand promise that to deliver that promise every time reliably, it requires a huge, like a standard that was be arguably above most organizations. And then what I think is really, really cool that you galvanized people around not only what the standard is, but why the standard and how they play into it. And then explicitly got their buy-in and promise through that signature. So maybe you can take us through that experience. What were some of the challenges? What were some of the learnings that you had to go through?
Sure.
Yeah.
What an amazing, it's textbook kind of stuff. So here we have a venerable global 100-plus-year-old cruise brand, Holland America Line, very famous company, so highly regarded. And as a member of the leadership team, you're entrusted with this legacy and with the future. So it's a big deal. Well, we experienced a double disruption. First, 9/11 was, extreme. I call it a sudden jolt disruption. And secondly, we were being disrupted by time, an aging customer audience, a out of sync brand position that had always worked in the past, but wasn't resonating so well in the marketplace, and especially complicated by new competitors who were better targeted to where the category that we operated in, premium cruising, was headed. So we had this slow leak disruption of relevance and competitive position, and we had this sudden jolt of 9/11, which accelerated all the problems of the slow leak. So we were faced with that. And I felt actually that it was essential to get to the truth of our current situation. Get to the truth. I call that know your waypoint. It's essential to know the waypoint. Where are we now? Not where do we want to be? Where do we wish we were? Where were we in the past? Where are we as a result of these circumstances at this moment in time? We have to seek the truth. And we decided that it was important to know the truth about 4 key components of our business. We had been committed and were committed to the premium category of the cruise industry. Now that means more personal space, ships of similar size, but with more space, larger cabins, more opulent interior spaces, gorgeous art collections, more dining options. Everything is a step up, from volume contemporary cruising. We were committed to that, but the question was to continue to grow and expand. Where does the premium market stand today? Is this a market segment that has longevity, that has space for us? And if it does, where and how, and with which customer segments? What are examples of other brands who are succeeding in the premium space and other brands that are stalling out? So we want to get, what is the truth about our category? Okay. And then secondly, that being the case, what's the truth about how we are aligning with that marketplace segment and opportunity today? our position, our products, our delivery. What's the truth? How are people perceiving us? How is our product rated? We've looked at the premium market. We think we understand better where it's going, the customer segments that will carry it forward that are best for us, what their priorities are. And it certainly wasn't our parents' who we were serving at the time. It was the emerging boomers, the most affluent, most experiential, most active travelers yet to, push through the travel industry. So it was that leading edge of the boomers that we essentially had to address in our position, product, et cetera. And we weren't doing that very well. So where's our category? What's the truth about where we're at today, how we're performing against the opportunity that we perceive there? And then we went over to, okay, we have this new thing called internet and technology and, information empowered consumers and mobility, et cetera. So what do we need to know? Where is this going? What do we need to know about how those trends connect back to our category of premium cruising, our customer segments, our product and service delivery, the operation of our company? So we decided that we need to get very smart about, the impact of technology, the opportunities of it, where we stood, what were the gaps. And lastly, distribution. Global company, multiple distribution channels, those channels changing, new ones emerging. What's the truth? Where's it headed? Where are we winning? Where are we losing? But so we ended up with a really clear-eyed, truthful assessment, of the state of our business within these 4 big boxes. And then that certainly generated the identification of dozens of critically important initiatives. But how do you organize those and prioritize those and communicate them, through the company, have them embraced at the very epicenter of the culture so that the energy of those changes would radiate out into the marketplace. So we organized
before we go into the the actual solving of it, I really want to highlight a couple things for our listeners, because I mean, David, you took a massive $1 billion company, got to the heart of the issue, and I don't want to overstep some of those really key learnings. So, finding your truth, like really getting to the heart of the issue, not where we were, not where we want to be, but where we very truly are. Maintaining what we see as success. So being clear on our, I can't remember what you had called it, but our basically our North Star, where we want to go, what that looks like. Being aware of the winds of change. So what you had, in that case, there's the internet, which in, 2000s, early 2000s, was a very, very different experience than what it is now. But at the same time, it's not that different, because there's just different disruptions. It's different internet. It's different consumer trends. So for the listener, if you hear David say, oh, that was 20 years ago, or 10 years ago, sorry, I'm not very good at math. It's just the same thing over. So there is a process, and it will repeat itself. And then the distribution of it, how do we get it around? So that flexibility to say, hey, we've uncovered where we are. We uncovered where we want to go. Now we start getting a bunch of challenges, and then I'll sort of get ahead of you, David, because I know what your process is. Everybody, you should read the book, get the process, but I think it applies to that exact scenario. So sorry to jump in there, but I didn't want to lose all of that gold. You went through, diagnosed the problem, found basically 12 areas. What did you do? How did you get the team galvanized to move forward?
Yeah, we found dozens of initiatives, let's say gaps to close that were really important to close over time. But then how to go from an internal looking, methodology to something that could be communicated and aligned externally, because that's how we live, is through our external success in the marketplace. So we defined the 5 pillars of premium. Okay, and we organize everything under those 5 strategic pillars, those 5 essential pillars. And for us, and this probably won't be surprising to hear these, Spacious, elegant ships and accommodations. The hardware is critically important in the cruising experience, and a hardware that aligns well with the tastes, changing tastes and needs of the customer segments we're targeting. Sophisticated five-star dining. Dining, even today, is still a critically important part of the leisure vacation experience. And important part of a upscale travel experience is always the quality of the dining. And it's not just, for us, it wasn't just the food and number of restaurants and choices on menus. It was about the manner in which we dine. What are the plates like? What are the linens like? What is the room and the environment like? What is the service like? What is the music that's playing in the background? The manner, of the experience was critical. Unobtrusive service. So this spoke to our incredible team members aboard the ships, who provide such caring service. But in the premium world, and we were known for, team members who recognize your name know your name within 1 or 2 days of you being aboard the ship. They watch for and observe your preferences, or the dining portions were serving too large and you're uncomfortable leaving, but leaving extra. We'll make sure that the portions are your size, your preference. If you always ask for the second portion of the protein, you're gonna from day 2, that's an automatic. Do you have a drink preference? Do you prefer a certain lounge before dinner or a certain entertainment venue on the ship? That becomes known, and that's through observation and caring, and it's unobtrusive. It's not a in-your-face artificial friendliness. I can drive through a favorite coffee brand's window to get a latte, and I get the same manufactured. So what are you doing today? That's this fake attempt to connect and service, and that is not what unobtrusive caring service is all about. So highly personalized. The fourth pillar was extensive enrichment programs. We're going to all 7 continents. We're introducing people to new places in the world, new cultures, new experiences. We attract people who are inquisitive, highly educated. And so a key pillar of delivering a premium experience in our finding was to go further with our enrichment programs and activities, the shore excursions, the lectures on board, take it deeper. That's a winner. So a lot of work went into that area. And then compelling worldwide itineraries. Being a company that could offer a choice of all 7 continents, Alaska to Antarctica to South America to Asia Pacific to throughout Europe, was critical in the minds of the premium traveler. Oh, you go to places, that are most far flung and most interesting in the world, and that we recognize our brand. All of these are authentic to the brand, and great pillars under which to stack our initiatives for strengthening and improving each of those, and collectively the entire company as a result. So
yeah, absolutely. So one of the things I took from there is, as you went through this dynamic change, and I think it's so timely and appropriate for where we're at in 2021 leading into 2022, is, if you're being disrupted, and David, what I heard is you really focused on your customer, like customer first, and did the things that I think are just as applicable, if not more applicable right now. The differentiation, the clear value proposition, making sure everybody's on board, deepening that customer experience, and high personalization. Like all of those things, the awareness of customer needs, I think in 2022 is going to be critical. And I think that if you are being disrupted, if you are experiencing any type of disruption, whether that's internal, external, or this, sort of boats are getting rocky, going back to your core of who is your customer, what do they want, because the customer pays the bills at the end of the day.
And what has changed?
Yeah.
And what has changed for them as a result of the disruption. Because what they wanted and needed before, much of that will remain, but some will be different. Okay. Look at the acceleration of online shopping. I think the explosion we'll see through this holiday season will be amazing. The desire for community enabled by the company. Okay, so leveraging virtual tools and creating community. When the cruise industry was on hard stop for over 12 months, how do you keep such a passionate audience of consumers engaged with your brand? We saw some amazing examples of deeply engaging, immersive community building by the cruise lines and sustaining of communities without ever leaving dock. They did this by launching Viking TV. This is a good example. Norwegian Caribbean Line launched a series of shows and interactive opportunities that was quite innovative. Seeing more people online, the explosion of Zoom and other tools, okay, there's a way we can still be in the living rooms and be connected with our guests and share our food and our menus, share our cultural programs, share news about how our service is evolving when they come back and how anxious we are for that day to come soon, how hard we're working on the necessary health protocols and science to make cruising the safest travel experience on Earth. So, yeah.
So David, just as we finish up here, I got one last question for you. For our leaders that are getting ready to, I'm going to use a pun because I love puns, set sail on the next, 12 to 18 months of their business journey, whether they're in the cruise industry or not, what would be the number one piece of advice that you would give them to maximize their success and to be able to, successfully address any potential disruption that might be happening in the future?
Sure. I think this is a very important point. I call it eyes on the prize. All right. So yes, we're focused on the very real and daunting task of restarting, emerging, retooling post-pandemic, post-disruption. But that has to happen within a greater context. And so I think it's important to step back and take a 3 to 5 year view of, what do you think it looks like? What is that opportunity that's out there on the horizon for you on the other side of this? Okay, and let that eyes on the prize inform the decisions, each and every decision you make today in the short term, the 12 months, the 24 months, the 36 months, so you don't, for expediency, trade the future for the present. And that's easy to do when you're driving hard, to get back to the way things were, but you're not going to get back to the way things were. In the movies, it might be possible to go back to the future, not in real life. It's just a simple fact. So you've got to accept that. Eyes on the prize. And if you can't see a prize out there that is worth, harnessing all of the passion and energy and resource, then I say, find the exit.
Yeah.
That's, yeah.
I appreciate that. That's very clear. So, I would put that in strategic planning terms, if you got an opportunity to do a strategic plan, but definitely pick up David's book, get the framework. I really like how easy it is to understand. And it's a clear set of steps that you can go through to go, navigate the disruption. So David, where can people connect with you? Where can they learn more about what you do and what you're about?
2 easy ways to connect. One, connect with me on LinkedIn, David Giersdorf on LinkedIn. I post a lot of, I think, good value-added thinking and content and share a lot of my experience there. Secondly, davidgiersdorf.com is where you can find a lot of my articles, information about the book, various ways to contact me for if you need help with your waypoint or important advice for moving your company ahead and helping your your senior team optimize their performance. And I would say lastly, the book Hardships, 2 words, available on Amazon. Just search it there. If you type in gethardships.com, it'll take you straight to the Amazon page. Available in audiobook, Kindle, softcover, hardcover.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad. We'll put the link in the description there. I'm glad that we got to chat today, that you got to share your experience. I'm sure we could talk for hours looking about how you see the situation coming out of the pandemic, not only for cruise ship companies, but, all organizations. But really, thank you so much for being a guest on the show today. It's been a pleasure chatting with you.
Yeah, an honor to be here, and hats off to you and all your great success and contribution with SME consulting, and that you have the initiative to build an audience around and give them access to different points of view and resources. So hats off.
Oh, well,
Congratulations.
thank you so much. Well, it's not every day we get to talk to an executive that's been in the cruise ship industry. So really, thank you for the time. But ladies and gentlemen, folks and people, my guest today has been David Giersdorf. He's the CEO of Global Voyages Group, and he's the author of Hardships, Navigating Your Company, Career, and Life Through the Fog of Disruption. So if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to rate it 5 stars on iTunes, Stitcher, or SoundCloud. If somebody you know is experiencing disruption and not sure how to navigate it, be sure to get them David's book and send them this podcast. So once again, my name is Anthony Taylor. This has been the Strategy and Leadership Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time.